process of user-supplied data, processing user-supplied data. Email, it can do that. File handling, it can do that, meaning uploading, downloading, creating files, converting files. Text processing, GUI interface, putting in like saying, say you can create a PHP module to like mimic Microsoft Word, where it has bolding, underline, font size, font type, color, tables, whatever you want to put in there, hyperlinks. Network interaction, it'll work with the network infrastructure for file handling, network handling, and tons more stuff it can do. Fundamentals of PHP is it's embedded in what's called XHTML pages with these tags. Beginning PHP tag starts out with a lesser than symbol, question mark, PHP greater than symbol, then your code, then lesser than symbol, question mark, greater than symbol. You can also have a short version there of tags that can be used like on a one-liner. Each line of PHP is terminated like SQL with a semicolon, or if you've had maybe C++ or C#, that's similar to that as far as semicolons go. Here's an example of a hello world application in PHP. If you've had HTML, you've noticed some of these tags. The new is a PHP line. So we have lesser than symbol, question mark, PHP, and echo command, which means it's going to echo it to the screen, and it's going to echo to the screen hello RVC. And you'll notice it's echoing to the screen hello RVC with the paragraph tags, beginning and ending on the hello RVC. It also has a semicolon, question mark, greater than symbol. So that line between body and body is a beginning and ending PHP tag with the question mark. What's in between that is the actual PHP code. Echo is PHP code, semicolon is PHP code. The single quotes is actually rendering that to a web browser as HTML. So preparing to code for PHP, there's such things as called literals. It's a string that must be enclosed in a single or double quote, and a literal looks like hello there. Hello in single quotes or double quotes. One thing you want to be careful of, especially if you're copying examples from websites, is sometimes when you copy text from websites to a PHP page in your code, the quotes will be different. They'll be kind of funky quotes for single quotes and double quotes. And what I always tell students is if you do copy code that you're kind of practicing with or playing around with, you find some code examples online or whatever, is make sure and redo the quotes, whether they be single or double, manually redo them, okay? Because a lot of times they just don't come over right. In fact, the reason they don't come over right is they write them in like system commas or system single quotes or double quotes, which are different than your machine, your editor that you're using single quotes and double quotes. It won't even recognize them. So if you just redo single quotes and double quotes, especially when you are copying code. Numbers are not enclosed in quotes. Booleans, true or false, can be written directly as true or false. Comments, here's some different ways you can comment in PHP. The first one, double hash, double slash, then you got a pound symbol, then you got a slash asterisk that's overspread over multiple lines, then asterisk slash again. So if you have multiple line comments, you would use the third one there. Do not nest multiple comments together. And the double slash is recommended over the pound symbol. You won't see many pound symbol examples, even though it does work. The most one that you'll see recommended in PHP shops that do this for a living is the double slash. So on this one here, I've got this is a comment echoing hello RVC, and then a multi-line comment, and it's all enclosed in a PHP and beginning and ending tag. And so you notice in this one I got a beginning PHP tag, an end PHP tag. Now let me show you something real quick while that's sitting up there. If I was to take this code here, for example, and you were to copy this code. Just trying to copy it so you can see what I'm talking about on the copy function. I'll just copy a portion of it then. Copy that, and I'm going to go into my text wrangler real quick here, and we're going to start up. We're going to paste that code. I'm going to create a new file here. Now I'm going to paste this into that. And let me make the text a little bit bigger here. Hang on just a second. Okay. Now I'll put a comment here. And let me go ahead and save that. I'm going to save that into my htdocs folder on my Mac here. I'm just going to go to my XAMPP directory. And if you're on Windows, you go to your XAMPP directory as well, htdocs. And I'm going to go to class, week 2. I'll name this one hello.php. Okay. You'll notice as soon as I saved it as hello.php, it began to do colorization of the code because it sees that as a PHP language. And so for me to view this I've already started XAMPP on my machine here. I'm going to go ahead and go out here and go back to my class, week 2, and I call that hello.php. And it says here I have an error, and it tells me exactly where the error is. It says the error is on line 3 and expecting a semicolon. So it does have some syntax or some checking within the display. And so here I have echoing. And remember I told you about the single quotes earlier? That's why I was wanting to copy that. All right, it even had a funky semicolon there. I'm going to save it now. Let's see if it's any better. No. Make sure I saved it. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Now, one thing I want you to notice here, when I go to view and I'm going to view this source code like you can in any web browser, all you see in the source code is hello RVC. You don't see the actual PHP code. And the reason for that is you don't see the beginning tag, ending tag, and echo command. It's running that PHP code from my XAMPP web server, my PHP web server, Apache, and rendering it in the browser as HTML. And so if I was to change this to anything else, regardless of what I was to change it to, and save it, I'm viewing that in source right now. It's always going to render it as HTML and not as PHP. Okay? So that's one of the big pluses with PHP as far as security goes. Code is secure on the server, whether it be for, this is harmless code if anybody got a hold of it, it's not going to really do anything. But you can imagine if you've worked on an application in PHP that's, say, easily 150,000 lines of code, which would be a small PHP application for a business, you wouldn't want anybody grabbing that source code and using it because you've worked a long time on it, might be proprietary, might have some information in there you don't want everybody to see. You can actually put comments in there. It's not going to render that on the view source. You're not going to be able to see that. They're only going to be able to see what's rendered as HTML. So remember that. We'll come back to some more examples in a second. There are also two ways to display data. I've already shown you echo. The other one's called print. Mostly you're going to see echo used for text-based, like I just displayed that message. It can be used with or without brackets. Note that the data displayed by PHP is actually parsed by your browser, like I already showed you with the example just now. Viewing source to see the actual output, you're only going to need to see the HTML portion, not the PHP portion. So in this example here, all 4 lines would print hello world, but you can do them any which one of those 4 ways. The most popular way is going to actually be that first example with hello world as the most popular way PHP developers print something or display something to a screen. Print actually was out before echo in the language evolution, but it's never went away, okay? And so it still works. Escaping characters, some characters are considered what's called special characters, and you escape them with backslash. Special characters would be flagged when they arise. For example, a double or single quote belong in this group of special characters. Here's some examples of that. Say you have the name Claire O'Reilly, okay? Notice Claire O'Reilly has a apostrophe there. In order to demark that, you have to use an escaping character to bring it in correctly. The same with said hello, and you wanted to actually put in there the emphasis on hello, quotes, inside of echo statement. You'd have to put that there because you can't have multiple quotes in a single line. So to make that a special character, those 2 quotes on the second line, you just put a escaping character before each one of the quotes, before hello and after hello, and then you're good, okay? Then they'll see it as a special character. Variables, when you work in PHP, we often need a label place to store a value, be it a string, a number, whatever, so you can use it in multiple places on your script. So say, for instance, a simple example I always tell students on this week is username, password. Everybody's used to logging in username and password, right, on websites. So what would be a name what would be a variable name you could think of for a username? An easy one, real easy. There's no wrong answer here. What was that? UN?
I just used my first name,
Daniel. You want to use that as the actual variable name? Okay, all right. So what would you use for the variable name for a username? Like what you're going to use this throughout your code. So you're thinking of a variable name that you could remember 1,000 lines down or 10,000 lines down, easily remember it. What would be a good name for? Okay, there you go. So anything that you can remember easily, you want to make that variable name. You just have to make sure that name you're using isn't a reserved name, which we'll look at in a little bit. But as long as it's not a reserved name, you're good to go. And so username would be one, password would be another one. These labels are called variables that I've just now mentioned between username and password, variables. And variables can be text, numbers, strings, whatever. So here's an example of a variable. You want to declare a variable for username, $symbol username, $symbol uname, $symbol password. It's case sensitive, so Dollar sign variable in all lowercase differs from dollar sign variable with a V uppercase. So you just have to remember to keep everything the same logically. And so I always tell students is an easy way to remember for variables is always keep it lowercase, just to be safe. That way you know whatever you called it, it's going to be lowercase. Now, there's some books that show you camel case on variable names. I'm not big on that. Just as long as you have some logic for what you're creating, and it seems to be easier for students to grasp the lowercase to be sure. Name must also start with a letter or an underscore. I suggest it's a letter. Forget the underscore. That became confusing for beginning programmers. But for right now, just begin it with a letter. Never follow it with a number. First, always a letter. So name, username, password, p-word, and variables always start with a dollar sign in front of it. So here's an example. Name and age, what are those? What are those called? Variables, right. Name is a string because Phil is to the right of the declaration, to the right of the equal sign. It's declared as a string because of that. And to help you with this week's discussion question, especially if you haven't had other languages, PHP is one of the only languages you don't have to declare the variable type at the onset of your program. Okay? You don't have to say name as string, declare name as string, or dim name as string, or whatever, as you would in other languages. You just say name equals Phil. Name is now a string, okay, because of Phil. Age equals 23 because of the preprocessor directive. To the right of that, preprocessor directive is the equal sign. 23, age now becomes a whole number, an integer. When you echo name, it's going to echo Phil. Is just for aesthetics purposes, having a space between the I and after the S. So it'll be name, or at Phil, space is, space 23 on the output. All right? And those of you at HTML, you could put in here if you wanted to wrap it, you could echo a BR tag. You could echo an HR tag. You can echo whatever. Okay? And it would wrap it as you would in a basic HTML. Constants, these are unchanging variables that need to be defined as well. Each constant is given a name. There's no preprocessor dollar. No pre-sending dollar sign is applied here. By convention, constants are always uppercase. So if you can remember, variables are always lowercase. Constants are always uppercase. All right? Like say the variable we just looked at before here for name and age, it can be changed throughout the program in multiple places. Name could be used for Tom in another place, or age could be used for as 50 in another place, because it's not a constant, just a variable. Okay, we're just using it as a variable. But constants need to be uppercase. And here's some examples. We're going to define the name constant as Phil and the age constant as 23. Make sense? So echo name is age, Phil is 23. And so this is great for percentage, like rates, mortgage rates, APRs, stock market, numerical applications, tax rates. Okay, those are constants that aren't going to change, right, in applications. And so that's what you would basically use constants as that type of, whatever can be used throughout the program, it's never going to change, is a constant. The or, there is a difference between or and question mark. So look at all these. You have single quotes or double quotes or single quotes, question mark. There's a difference between single quotes, strings written in single quotes or double quotes. In a double quote string, any variable names are expanded to their value. In single quote, no variable expansion takes place. Here's an example. So if we have Phil, name variable with Phil, age variable with 23, and we put it in double quotes on an echo statement, name is age, it's going to be Phil's 23. So it's going to recognize a dollar symbol on both name and age as a variable, PHP will, and render it as that variable content, whatever that content might be. If you do it this way with single quotes, it does not do that. It just, you would kick out the exact echo statement, name equals age. Okay, make sense? So inline conversion is the easiest way right here with double quotes. And just remember, when you do double quotes on an echo statement, it's going to render those variables in line without anything, formatting special. It's actually easier to do it this way than the prior examples. You can put it all in one line, and you could space it however you want to. So review, we started learning PHP. We looked at some comments, basic syntax, variables, constants. You've already done the XAMPP installation. If not, make sure to do that between now and the next couple of weeks at home. Now I want to cover another, which is a second source, the PHP 2.6, I believe it is. I'm going to start 2.6.2.10 on the PHP textbook. And I think it starts right here. Yeah, 2.6, how PHP is written. I'm going to start right there. I just want to cover some things that kind of, it shows it a little different light than the one I just went over. Just highlight different things. Variable names, $, myvar, name, those are all correct. The one I recommend is the top one, all lowercase. Even that underscore age underscore is correct, but I wouldn't recommend it. But those are all correct. There's nothing wrong with it. It'll work. I'm not going to read all those. There's some I don't want. Okay, $, one name, incorrect. Can't start with a number. $, name 91. Correct numbers are fine at the end. Correct here as well, underscore. Name apostrophe S, incorrect. You can't have any symbols. That's pretty basic there. This uses a print statement, which actually serves the same way as echo statement. And I want to get to the white space part. Okay. So in your code, let's say you've got white space. Spaces, tabs, and new lines in between statements have no effect at all, just like in HTML. You can have an HTML page of, say, body tag, 10 empty spaces on your text, and some more stuff, 10 more spaces, 10 more lines on your text, some more stuff, 10 more lines. It's not going to hurt. When you render it, it's not going to matter on the white space. The only thing it's going to matter is you programming it. It might be confusing because if you have stuff spaced out. So I always tell students is space your code logically with comments. What I mean by that is if you have a section of code, right, that's doing whatever, say this section of code is getting the person's name. You put at the top of that section, getting person's name. That's simple. The next section of code saves that information to a database. Comment saves information to a database. Then the next section of code. So I demark my code by comments. That way, if I leave my job or you take my job and I leave and I give it to you, then you can pick up where I left off because I put comments on my code. Comments do take a little bit more work, but it's internal documentation of your application. And it doesn't take that much more time, right? It takes more work for me to figure out how your code works versus if I see your code has comments, I can say, oh, I see what this section did, and I might want to change something in there maybe, but at least I know what it's doing, what your intent was. Does that make sense? So comments is what I suggest. I also suggest white spaces. It's okay, have maybe a couple spaces in between sections, but no more than that. A couple line spaces, I wouldn't do more than that. Because believe it or not, lines especially when you're talking about large applications of let's say 1 million plus lines of code for an application, lines do take up data. Extra lines do take up data in a file, in a space. Now, granted, if it's a one page, it's not going to take up that much, but if you times that times 1 million, it could add up to size difference maybe. And so I'm just thinking it'd be a little bit better for memory management to keep the spaces down to minimum in your code. Escape sequence. This is actually new from the last one. This one talks about using escape sequences to achieve the effect of double quotes, single quotes, using the backslash. You just give some examples here of the first one is escape sequence # prints the next character as a double quote, not a single quote. Escape character N prints a new line. Escape T prints a tab character. Escape R prints a carriage return. And this one isn't often used. The one that is used a lot is a new line character, just /n within your line of code. So you could have a double quotes and echo statement, have a /n in the middle, and it's going to force wrap it in your PHP for you. Tab is useful, but probably the most one, the /n, I would say is mostly used by programmers. That's all on that one. Oh, these have a different technology or a different way to do things on, it's called HereDoc. In order to allow people to easily write large amounts of text from within PHP, but without the need of constantly using escape things, HereDoc syntax was developed. HereDoc might be a little tricky to understand at first, but it's actually a big help. Put simply, allows you to define your own string delimiter so that you can make it something other than a double or single quote. So for example, we could use a string EOT, end of text, in quotes, for our delimiter, meaning that we can use double quotes and single quotes freely within the text. The text only ends, the string only ends when we type EOT. It's a little more complicated than in practice, but not much. The string delimiter needs to be by itself on a line in the very first column. That is, you can add spacing or tabs around it. So here's a variable called myString equals lesser than symbol, lesser than symbol, lesser than symbol, EOT. All your stuff you want to put in there. Then EOT again, semicolon. And that's a way to do it too. That's a little trickier. It does work though, especially if you have a lot of text you're putting in there. And just straight text, like I'm guessing the way I've used it is readme text that nobody reads. Disclaimer text that nobody reads. Stuff like that. It works fine for that. It doesn't really, you could care less about the formatting as much. It's just getting it in there. So it works well for that. Okay, now I want to jump to the actual in-class demo. Now, if you do have XAMPP on your machine, you can follow along. If you don't, just watch on the overhead. But what we're getting ready to do is the greeting tutorial for, if I can find it here, week 2, where you have your name is however many years and dog years, okay? And let me show you the syntax for that. It's pretty simple. I thought I blew the text up where you can see it. You guys see that in the back where you're at? Let me blow it up somewhere, is it okay? Okay, so let's look at this real quick. All right, so we've got basic HTML, right, on the first 5 lines of code. What is this here? On line 6. Yeah, begin PHP tag. And I always tell students to help you remember, because you'll forget, when you type a beginning PHP tag, immediately when you hit the enter key, go ahead and type in the question mark, greater than symbol, so you won't forget, right? That way when you type in everything, all your code, it's already there for you and shoved down at the end. Does that make sense? So just remember that. So I have here in line 7, my name, Chuck Conkle, inside of the name variable, age, and this has actually changed from the last time I did this tutorial, believe it or not. Ouch. 46. I felt like it was only 45 this year. Age equals 46. Dog age times 7. Then it's got echo my name is dog age. So that's a long way to do it. Or I could put this all in one line and in double quotes, and that would work as well. And I'll have to do all that, but we'll just leave it as this. There's my end PHP tag, and body tag, and HTML tag. So I'm going to get somebody else to, I'm going to go ahead and save this. We'll run mine. I'm going to have you guys give me your full name and your current age, if you don't mind, in just a second. And we'll test it out here. So this is, let's see if I can zoom in. I want to zoom in, not zoom out. Okay, so that's me right now. I'm 322 years and dog years. All right. Now what I want to do is take somebody else's information here. So, right. Who wants to volunteer? You want to volunteer?
Yeah, sure.
Full name?
John Light.
How do you spell your last name?
Legg.
Legg.
G.
Right there?
Yep.
Age?
21.
All right, save it. And I'm going to also put your information in the title here. Save it. There we go. And that's how old you are. I'm twice your age almost, or over twice your age. All right, we'll do one more. Anyone wants to volunteer?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Daniel Hopkins.
Age.
25.
All right. All right, and should also put the title tag in there. Now let's go ahead and try to view this source as we did earlier. And yeah, we can see the source, right? But we're only seeing what type of source? HTML, that's it. It's not rendering the PHP. The PHP source is running off of the server, Apache server. So all of your PHP code, rendering, variables, echo statements are all rendered from the server view. Make sense? Okay. And so what I'm going to do now is jump ahead a little bit real quick, and we're going to go into the Beatles app, actually, for the take-home. I'm going to jump right into that. And you guys, by the way, inside this week folder for the lab, for the home, for the in-class, there was a download for the source file that you can download and look at. In here, there's some source file here as well. I'll go ahead and download it as you would download it at home. I'm going to download the source file right to my Mac here and open it up and copy that. I'm going to put that in XAMPP folder, class. In fact, I'm going to do I'm going to call this a week 2 lab or week 2 take home. We'll do week 2 HW. Okay, and if you look on the overhead, what I did on my examples here tonight in front of you is I've got, if you notice on the overhead, here's my htdocs folder inside of my XAMPP directory. And here's all the files I have in my XAMPP directory. Web290 is one of them, but then the one I use for my class stuff, or in here anyway, is I just call it class, and then all the weeks. And the way the browser works, once you have XAMPP running, which here's my XAMPP control panel in my Mac. Once I have that running, I can basically just type in localhost in my web browser, and it's going, by default, going to, let me shorten it up a little bit here, load on my XAMPP file, my XAMPP directory, But all I need to do is, when I replace XAMPP directory with something else, this is actually at the root of my htdocs. The reason it redirects to XAMPP when you guys install it is there is a redirect in that index.php in the root of htdocs that redirects to the XAMPP folder. Okay, you can just leave it at that if you want. That's fine for your development. But all I'm going to have to do is type in class here, because remember, class was at the root of my htdocs. And what's great about PHP is it lets me browse my directories, and I know I put it in week 2, and I'll take it back. Week 2 HW, I believe. Week 2 HW. There's a hello who.html, hello php.html. This is actually the one from the online tutorial. Verbatim. This is verbatim, by the way. Okay. Do you prefer a formal greeting or an informal greeting? Formal. I think it's going to the wrong one. Hello hi.php. Informal. Must have it mapped wrong there. Hello hi. I'll have to look at the code here real quick. All right. Let me go ahead and open that real quick. We'll look at it. htdocs. Okay, there's a PHP, and we're also going to open up hello.html. Okay, this is going to hello hi.php. Oh, and this is called hello who.php. So all I have to do is I'll just rename this to hello hi.php. There we go. I'll go ahead and save that. There we go. Hello world, hi world, and friendly howdy world. And let's look at the actual syntax for that, how this works. It's pretty simple. Let me blow up the text so we can see it better from back in the back there. There's that one. And let me blow this one up. That one. So let's look at the HTML one first. Okay. Regular hyperlinks, right? You're used to hyperlinks, but the difference in PHP is this question mark and then the name equal sign. What this is doing, it's referencing a variable name. You're actually declaring a variable called greet, and you're naming it hello. It's going to be actually greet equals hello, greet equals hi, greet equals howdy. Okay. On the PHP side, what it's doing is it's doing what's called a get statement for the greet variable that you just created in the passing that variable greet to the other web page. In this case, the other web page is hello.php. Hello hi.php is being sent greet equals hello, greet equals hi, greet equals howdy. And so with one line of code, get greet, it's plugging it into a variable called greeting. In the title of the web page, it's using greeting, and it's also echoing out greeting in a double quote world. Whatever that greeting is, world. Whatever that greeting is, world. And so if we run this one more time, we can actually change this around a little bit easily. And if I wanted to put anything in here, I could put maybe, we'll do, let's see, instead of formal, let's do something else. Let's do Spanish. See, everybody knows any Spanish in here. Okay, give me a Spanish greeting. Hola. I'm going to spell this wrong, I know. Is this right? H-O-L-A, is that right? Hola? Is that right? Anybody else know other languages?
French.
French, let's do French. And give me a greeting for French.
Bonjour. B-O-N-J-O-U-R.
J-O-U-R, thank you. And we'll leave this friendly as friendly. All right, let's go ahead and save it and refresh. We now have Spanish, French, and friendly. So, hola world, bonjour world, and howdy world. Okay. Now, also one thing I want you to notice is, let me blow up this URL if I can. This right here, this is what I was wanting to highlight. This is actually the URL that's being passed the variable greet with howdy. And the Spanish one, greet, hola. And French, bonjour. All right, make sense? So you're passing variables in the URL, passing parameters in the URL, passing variables in the URL to another page. Now granted, this wouldn't be helpful for like secure stuff, right? Like passwords or usernames. But I have seen on websites where this is useful for bringing over a username into, say you log in with your email, but your username is whatever. That username or that full name can be displayed on every page. So Tom Smith can be displayed on every page you go to in that website. This would work fine for something like that. Okay, so Tom Smith has nothing to do with your username or password or email. It's just your name. Okay, and a lot of times you can actually, on websites, you can give them a nickname, give your profile a nickname. They'll pass that as well with something like this. Can you think of anything else that you could pass a variable with that's going to be fine besides what I just mentioned on a website? What about preferences, like color preferences, background color preferences, font sizes you want throughout? So say if you want larger font sizes, which is real popular for web pages today, you hit the plus symbol. You want that carried throughout your experience on the entire site. Would it hurt to pass that variable to each other page? No, it's not gonna, it's not anything security about it. It's just it's a preference, right? So preferences are perfect for stuff like this. Nicknames are perfect for stuff like this. And what's even cool about this, you'll learn that this semester here in a few weeks, is cookies. You can save what you're doing as a preference in a cookie on that web browser, and you come back to it on that machine, and it remembers it. It remembers your preference for that web page. And you can do that easily in PHP as well, where you can save a cookie for a week, 2 weeks, a month, or forever. Okay? Well, you know what? The pizza guy was supposed to be here by now. I guess he's not coming. And I didn't get a phone call. Oh well. I said G11, right down to the bottom floor. I don't know. Let me go check real quick if you guys don't mind. We started at 7:30. It should already be here by now. Let me go see if he brought it upstairs or something. Be right back. Okay. No news. No call, so apologize for that. I will get pizza, I guess, the next time. Well, that's all I have for week 2. Homework assignment is basically finishing up what we went over in class as far as the homework exercise on using the website for PHP Basics. And I will promise you I'll have pizza next time. So I apologize it wasn't here. I did call it in about 6:20 or 7:20 before you guys got here. So they're usually pretty quick, like within 30 minutes they're here. So, all right. Any questions on week 2's homework assignment? If you have any, come up and see me. Otherwise, 2 weeks from tonight, we have the next class here. If you do have any questions, I did put in here a live chat in the home page. If you click on live chat, I'll go and click on it. And if I am online, just type in your first name or whatever. If I'm online here, I will respond via my iPhone or my iPad immediately. And so let me just show you what it looks like real quick. Because I do not like the chat one that we have built into the class lab. I don't like it. So it's pretty simple, but one thing I can do with it I do like is I can actually attach files to students. Let's see, boom. There it is right there. And so it gives me a little prompt there. And then what's cool is this is actually recorded. This log is recorded. And so what I can also do is I can share my desktop with you. I can show you something. I can send you a file. And then what's cool is once this session's finished, it keeps a log of everything. And then I just send that as an email attachment to you after the session's done. So if you're having a problem with anything PHP related, I am up a lot grading and doing work on the class stuff for the courses I teach. And so if you've had me before, I'm pretty quick on responding. But if you do see me online, generally the good times for me to be online is through the day through like 3 o'clock. And then on Wednesday I don't teach. So I've slotted out from like say 5 to 7. I'm going to be online all the time from 5 to 7 p.m. And then any other time that you're on there, you can try the live chat and I'll be more glad to help you. You can also send me a direct message via the email, the inbox. And it's a little different than Angel was last semester. Let me just show you that real quick. I don't know if you've had a chance to email anyone yet. If you click on the inbox and just click on the pencil here, you just type in anybody's name here, and then you can begin connecting with them. Now, they have to be in a class of yours. Okay, they have to be in a class of yours. But besides that, that's about it, the only requirement. The only thing I don't like about this is it doesn't have a subject line in it. Okay, in the email, it does not have no subject line. You can also attach files and you can record. If you have a mobile app with Canvas, you can download from a Droid or an iPhone the mobile app for Canvas, which works really well. You can actually also put attachments and also put recordings on there as well if you wanted to. One last thing about navigation for the course is I have it set up on each one of these weeks to where when you click on a week, it goes to the very first page of that week's module. If you want to see what's in all the modules though, over here on the left side, just click on modules and you're going to see everything show up. Now the stuff that's gray up on the overhead, you're not going to see because that's only for me to see, but that's stuff you don't see. But anyway, you can see everything globally this way. The other thing you can do is the calendar. I like the calendar view because in the calendar view, you can actually export that calendar feed, which I know some students have started using, You can export this calendar feed to a mobile device or to your local computer. And what's cool about this one is you can actually select your class that you want to see a calendar of. And so I'll go ahead and select this class here. And then it's going to show up on the calendar just that class that you've selected, and that's it. And the due dates and everything for that class. It's actually going to be this one here. And for this class, everything's due on Sunday at midnight or 11:59. Each week, you will generally have two things due: the homework assignment and the discussion, and that's it. Okay, homework and discussion for the most part. There's a few weeks I do not have discussion. I'm going to start adding them in again in October because I do like the discussions. I've started adding those into September. But then when you get to November, the week of November 10th, which will be, I guess, November 11th. November 11th is the actual week you start working on your final website in class. The 11th and the 18th, and the 25th. And then the 2nd is whenever you actually present your final in front of the class. On that class, I do buy pizza for you. Hopefully, they'll deliver it. And you guys just have to bring other stuff like snacks and chips and whatever else, pop or whatever. I like apple pie if anybody cares. And I'm trying to think. I think that's it. As far as navigation stuff, I didn't get to go over with you last week. And any questions? Okay. Well, we are done, and have a good 2 weeks off. See you guys in 2 weeks, and enjoy the Anybody else have a 3-day weekend next weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So enjoy that. Maybe spend some time with your family and friends. And if you have any questions before you leave, come up and see me.